I'm so glad to be with you today. Here we are on our month where we're exploring our ideas of power. This is our power month. I felt like I should come out in a Supergirl cape. Not the Wonder Woman outfit, the cape. I just want the cape. But so we're talking about harnessing our power this month, our divine power. And so what we're trying to figure out is how we can harness it, how we can use that divine power, because we're not talking about that individual personal power of trying to overpower someone else. We're talking about how we can come out in our fullness and our wholeness and our divine expression. And so that's what we're talking about today. And my talk, as you can see from my friend here, jump in, isn't that fun? Doesn't that look crazy? That looks, yeah, to do it afraid. That's what we're talking about. But before I start that, I feel this week has been a really emotional week. There's been a lot going on, and with the very public and publicized suicides of both Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain, I feel like I need to say something about that. And I've been praying over it and meditating over it, and what I'd like to express to everyone and for us to keep in our minds. And as you all know, I'm a sap, so I'm going to try and do this without crying. But you never know what you get with me. Let's just face it, you never know what you're going to get. But this is what I want to say, that this is a moment when, again, we are focused on a celebrity situation, and that because there were 2 this week, then everyone's talking about it and all of that. What I want you to know that since then, 492 other people committed suicide since Wednesday. That's the statistic. That there's about 125 people a day, and it's going up. And so I was trying to figure out what I want to say, because here we are, Center for Spiritual Living, and I vision a lot, and we pray a lot, and talk a lot about what that means. Maybe different than a church. That what does it mean to be a center for spiritual living? And we believe that God is in every aspect of our life, and we believe that everything that we do has a spiritual component to it. That there's not spirituality and life, right? That life is a divine spiritual adventure, and that we are connected to this presence, and whatever that word works for you, because sometimes people don't like the word God, and sometimes people don't like the word spirit or whatever it is, but there's a presence, as Ernest Holmes says, that there's a power greater than you are, and you can use it, and it's there for your good. And so we're part of that. And so I think a lot about how we can be a safe haven, how we can be a space of love, how we can open the door and welcome in everyone who has a broken heart, and who feels broken, because we know that you're not ever broken. We know that you're always whole. No matter what you've done, no matter what's happened, no matter what mistakes you think you've made, we know that it's just a divine unfoldment. And so, and we are the hardest people on ourselves, aren't we? I said it a bunch recently, and it's true that sometimes the most unsafe space for us is in our own heads. It's true. And so my best wish for us is that we can find a way to reach out to those who are hurting. And so I found words from someone else to read to you today, because I couldn't figure out, he said it much better than I could say it myself. Or he said exactly what I wanted to say. And so this is, I'm following a blogger and a pastor named John Pavlovitz. I don't know if, I share his stuff on my Facebook a lot, but I love what he said, and this is what he said. If you stick around, a letter to those wanting to leave this life again. Woo! Okay, I can do this. All right, dear friend. I don't know you, but I know something about you. I know you're tired. I know you live with demons, ones that are close and loud. I know how relentless they are in their pursuit of you. I know that you spend your days trying to silence them and your nights trying to hide from them and the hell they put you through. Most of all, I know how hard you work to hide it all, to pretend that you're fine, to paint a convincing smile upon your face, and to act as if it's all well with your battered soul. I know that all of this performing has left you exhausted, that you've numbed yourself and hurt yourself and starved yourself in the hope that the voices will become silent, the pain will subside, and you can finally breathe again. I know that right now, it doesn't seem like that moment will ever come. I know right now you'd rather leave than live. And even though I'm not standing in your shoes, and even though I don't know you, and even though I have no right at all, I'm asking you to stick around. I'm asking you to stay. to endure your incredibly painful, totally senseless now, because I can see your glorious, blindingly beautiful then, if you do. If you stick around, you will reach a spot in the sadness won't let you see right now. You'll reach tomorrow, and that place is filled with possibility. It's a day you've never been to. It's not this terrible day. There you will not feel exactly what you're feeling right now. You may be stronger or see things differently or find a clearing, and life may look a way it hasn't in a long time. It may look worth staying for. Tomorrow is the place where hope lives, and I want you to give yourself a chance to share space with that hope, to dance with it, to rest in it, to dream within it, because you deserve that. If you stick around, you'll travel to amazing places that will take your breath away and see sunsets that have yet to be painted in the evening sky. If you stick around, you'll eat that cheeseburger. The one that will cause you to make an actual audible noise in public, and you won't regret it. If you stick around, you'll hear that song that will change your life, and you'll dance to it like no one's watching. And then not care that they aren't. If you stick around, you'll find yourself in the embrace of someone who waited their entire lives to embrace you, whose path you will beautifully alter with your presence. If you stick around, you will hold babies and see movies and laugh loudly. And you'll fall in love and have your heart broken, and you'll fall in love again. If you stick around, you will study and learn and grow and find your calling. I can't see now. I think it's important that I do this. That's why I'm doing this. Okay, all right. Okay, I can see now. If you stick around, you will outlive your demons. And yeah, there'll be other stuff too, disappointments and heartache and regrets and mistakes. And yes, there'll be moments of despair and painful seasons and dark nights of the soul you will need to endure. You will screw things up and be let down. You'll hurt and you'll wonder how you'll ever make it through again. But then you'll remember the hell you walked through to get here. And you might remember this letter. And you'll realize you're going to be okay because tomorrow is still waiting for you to dance and rest and dream within. So I guess this is just a reminder from someone who sees what you may not see from where you're standing, the future. One that will be a lot better with you in it. So this is a plea and a promise, a dare and an invitation. Stay. Hang on. You are loved. Things will get better. Trust me. Cry and get angry, ask for help and punch a wall, scream into your pillow, and take a deep breath and call someone who loves you. When you let people in, the demons shrink back, so allow others to carry this sadness with you until you are stronger. But for you, for those who will grieve you should you leave, and for the tomorrow that you deserve to see, please stick around. And note, if you're struggling with depression, desire to self-harm, or suicidal thoughts, talk to someone. Help is here. You are worth fighting for. So according to the CDC and the World Health Organization, suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the U.S. for all ages. Every day, approximately 123 Americans die by suicide. There is one death by suicide in the U.S. every 11 minutes. Depression affects 20 to 25% of Americans ages 18 and above in a given year, and suicide takes the life of over 45,000 Americans each year. The highest suicide rates in the U.S. are among whites, Native Americans, and Alaskan Natives. Only half of all Americans experiencing an episode of major depression receive treatment, but 80 to 90% of people that seek treatment for depression are treated successfully using therapy and/or medication. An estimated 250,000 people each year become suicide survivors. There is one suicide for every estimated 25 suicide attempts. There is one suicide for every estimated 4 suicide attempts in the elderly. Rates for veterans are 22% higher than for civilians and for LGBTQ youth, and they're rising. If you see something, say something, because we care. What I've heard and what I know is that sometimes when we move into that place of despair, that it feels like there's a wall between us and everybody else, and it's really hard to reach out and say something. If you get to a place like that, try your hardest to ask for help. Our practitioners are here, our ministers are here, we are here for you. And if you see someone else, tell them you're there for them. This needs to go down. So that's my part of that today. And it fits in really well with what we're talking about because it's about fear. It's about fear of life. It's about fear of being who we are. It's about fear of engaging in fully and authentically with ourselves. And we do have difficulties and we do have moments where we move through them, but my best wish is that's why I read John's words, because my best wish is that there's one tiny part in our consciousness that can see beyond, that there's something beyond this moment. That's when we get into trouble, is when we feel like we're in a cloud and we can't see beyond it, that there's nothing other than this pain, this despair, this difficulty. And everybody goes through that sometimes, don't we? But if you can remember that there is a tomorrow, it's a very simple thing. If we can remember that there is a tomorrow, we can remember that there is something guiding us and supporting us in getting to that tomorrow. If we can deepen our understanding of who we are and our connection to that presence, that power that I call God, we can remember that we're not alone. The problem with fear is, fear is a construct of our psyche that's important to us. It keeps us from jumping off that 30-story building or jumping out of a plane without a parachute. It's for some of us, jumping out of a plane with a parachute, so I'm not doing that either. But the fear, fear is great because it will keep us safe. It's kind of like the ego. It holds us back. It stops us from being reckless. But the problem is that fear is a little power hungry itself. And fear likes to keep us so safe that it builds these walls around us, and then pretty soon we wake up, we feel comfortable, it's all fine, and then we wake up to the fact that we're living in a prison. We're too afraid to step out beyond our safe, comfortable little bubble. But that's where life happens, right? If we stay in this safe, comfortable little bubble, we're going to miss life. We're going to miss that growing edge of who we are and what we're capable of. What we don't realize is that sometimes we learn about who we are through the experiences we have in this life. Everything is divinely ordained to support our growth, to support our expansion, to support our understanding of who we are. And so when those rocky moments happen, when those confrontations show up, when we have a difficult situation happening in our world, it's there to guide us and to support us in realizing, hey, I know more than I thought I did. I'm stronger than I thought I was. I'm more capable than I give myself credit for. That's why those situations come up. There's always a reason for it. It's smoothing out a rough edge. It's building one of your muscles, right? Your trust muscle, your capability muscle, whatever that is. These situations are there to guide us and support us. And so if we give in to the fear, if we choose to allow the fear to have the loudest voice in the room, we never get to that part, right? We never get to that place of growth because we hold ourselves back in our prison. I heard something that I liked this week. It said that life is like math. Okay. Life is like math. We can't skip algebra or else geometry and calculus won't make sense, right? I got an A calculus. I put it on my refrigerator for like 5 years. Okay, so likewise in life, we can't move past trauma or challenge or avoid our scary situations. We have to go through them. We have to experience them fully, or we simply won't have the information or the skills necessary to do well in life, to realize, to meet who we are at the most basic levels. Every time we step out boldly, we learn something about ourselves. So the problem is this, is that fear is a natural response for us, but it brings chaos, right? Just think about it. When you're afraid of something and you go to bed and you try and go to sleep, what does that feel like? Your brain's on that hamster wheel, right? Going constantly flashing pictures of scenarios of what possibly could happen in the worst possible situation. So that really helps conducive for getting ready for sleep, right? And so your breathing is really shallow and very labored, and then there's like the stomach pains that come sometimes, and maybe that feeling uncomfortable in your skin. Am I talking to myself? Right? But no one's shaking their head. Yes or no? Yes, yes, okay, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, someone give me a nod. Yeah, okay, great. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm in the right room. That's great. I want to make sure we're doing the right thing here. Okay, so, all right, so when that happens, then what happens? It just brings chaos to us, right? And we go on this cycle of our mind that you sometimes don't feel like we can get out of. And it's about breaking that cycle and choosing to realize that there's something else going on here. You know, fear is one of those things that I've heard that it kills you over and over, when instead you could die just once at the end of a good life, right? Why do I have to feel like I'm going through the pain of dying constantly because of fear, when I could just live this life fully and then just die once? I had a joke this week about my favorite author, the most wise person that I know, named Unknown, said that we tiptoe through life hoping to safely make it to death. Right? That's a good one, isn't it? Okay. But that's not what we were meant for. That's not what we were made for. We were made for a bold, powerful, full life. We were made to live this life fully, get used up completely, and then end up heading off to the next adventure, whatever that's going to be beyond transition. We are here to engage fully with this. Even the Bible and the scriptures encourage it. They want us to realize this. These are my favorites. So Deuteronomy 31, He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. God is there for us completely. 1 John, perfect love casts out all fear. Psalm 18, the Lord is my rock, my fortress, my deliverer. Joshua 1:9, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And then Isaiah. This is my favorite, Isaiah. Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name, and you are mine. You are God's. And as that, there's nothing that we should be afraid of. Because we are God's divine emanation. And with that infinite power that has created all things, is available to us, is sourcing us, is supporting us, we need to welcome it. We need to allow it to speak through us and to us. And so what it comes down to is how you want to go through life. We have a choice. Is your fear greater than your faith in the unknown in yourself? Or is your faith in the unknown in yourself greater than your fear? We want to flip the switch. We want to step into our faith knowing that there's nothing we can't handle. There is nothing here that you cannot handle, because you have the strength and the power of God. Helen Keller said that either your life is a daring adventure or nothing. To keep our faces toward change and behave like free spirits in the presence of fate is strength undefeatable. It's a powerful moment when you decide, oh heck, I'm going for it. Can you put that picture back up? Oh heck, I'm going for it. Yeah. Oh heck, I'm going for it. And whatever that is, starting a business, proposing, starting a relationship, saying something to someone that you've held close, but you want to share your love and your vulnerability with someone, speaking the words, having the confrontation that you know needs to happen. These are moments where you got to do it afraid. We have to be willing to just step forward and not let our fears and our sense of limitation and our belief about our own self hold us back from living fully. We leap with reckless abandon. We leap into that unknown because we're sourced and we're supported. So I thought that So I thought that we could look at a couple of strategies in dealing with fear today. And the first one is this, is that you can look at it from the rear view mirror. Okay, so looking back at it. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about a situation that you were extremely scared of when you in your past. Something that you were afraid to do, something that you were afraid you were going to have to walk through, something, everyone's got one, right? Are you afraid of it now? No, we're not. Because you know what? You handled it. You handled it. And so in the middle of the night when that hamster wheel's going, you're up at 3 a.m., you have to remember that at one moment you're going to be looking back at this one. And you're going to be like, oh, I handled that. Just like I handled everything else. And so we have this amazing faculty called our imagination. Can you imagine in that moment what it will be like to be beyond this looking back at it? If you can do that, you can handle anything and your mind's going to calm down because your body reacts to your imagination as if it were true. And so if you can get into that place of imagining, taking your time, taking your mind focused on imagining what it's going to be like when you can say to someone, yeah, I handled that. It was hard then, but I got it. Then everything starts to calm down and you can see differently. We see from the future. Who knew we were all psychics? You could see from the future. And then we learn that your greatest fears are your greatest waste of time. So the other strategy I've got, so look from the future. The other one is to flip the fear. To flip it. And so you want to break it down to see what it is that you're really afraid of. And so my story of this is a bunch of years ago. I went to Hawaii with my husband and his sister and husband have a boat, and they all scuba dive, and I don't. And so it was just the four of us. We've done this a bunch, and so sometimes the stepkids were with us, and I was snorkeling with the stepkids in the water while everybody was, scuba diving. And I'm not the strongest swimmer, and I saw Jaws when I was 8. Okay, so that being said, off go my husband and the crew down. Oh, and it was whale time in Hawaii. Okay, so what that means is all the whales are there mating, which means they're very. Did you know that whales were vocal when they mate? Whales are very vocal when they mate. Just in case you wanted to know that. It's really loud, and you can hear them from far away, right? So you never know where they are. And so they all go, and I'm sitting in this boat by myself. And I'm like, maybe I'll go snorkeling. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to go snorkeling. I'm not going to go by myself. Jaws, hello, no way. I could almost hear a donut in my head, And I was like, there's no way I'm doing this. And so they're gone, and it's like they do 2 dives for an hour, basically, more or less. And so I'm sitting there on the side of the boat with my feet dangling. And then I'm like, no, I'm not dangling those feet in. And then I start to hear the, and I'm like, oh my God, it's a whale! And I'm looking around for the whale, I can't see the whale. And I'm like, what am I going to do? And so then all of a sudden the waves start coming up, right? And so I start getting seasick, and I'm like, oh man, what am I going to do? I got to get in the water. I'm like, I got to get in the water, And so I'm sitting there trying to talk myself. I've got my flips on, I got my snorkel on, I'm sitting on the side of the boat looking down, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. And this is what I did. I flipped the fear. I said, okay, so what are you afraid of? Well, I'm afraid I'm going to get in the water, and I'm first of all going to look foolish because I don't know how to swim, and I'm not very graceful getting in and out if somebody saw me, but who's around to see me? And then I'm like, okay, well, I could get eaten, but I haven't heard of anybody getting eaten lately, so that's probably okay. And so then my question was, what am I going to say? How am I going to feel tonight when we're at dinner? And there's this gorgeous, we're over this gorgeous reef, and they're showing me the pictures and talking to me about what they saw underneath, and I didn't see anything because I couldn't get out of the boat. Right? I jumped in the water. Now, I'll admit, I was in the water for 10 minutes and then got back out because the sound of the whales were so loud around me, and I was like, they must be right here. And we didn't see any that day. They were all there, but they were hiding how whales hide, I don't know. But, so I will admit that I was only in for 10 minutes, but I did it, right? And I was able, when they came back up, I was able to say, I went snorkeling alone. And so, because I grew up with a family that calls snorkeling chumming. So there's no real way to, get beyond that, but I flipped the fear. So the idea is as you break it down, the idea is how foolish am I going to feel that I didn't do it, right? What am I really afraid of? Am I afraid of looking foolish? Am I afraid of getting eaten? What's the odds that I'm really going to get eaten? No, I'm going to get in the water, And it was one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had. And so I encourage us to flip the fear. If you're afraid to do something, you're afraid to say something, you're afraid to step forward, whatever it is, flip it. What happens if you don't do it? How are you going to feel if you don't do it? How are you going to feel if you don't engage in your life? We have this amazing gift of God. We've got this life. And we've got this ability to have a magnificent, amazing experience in this life. How are you going to feel if you get to the end of it and you didn't take advantage of it? Because I'll tell you, I know that as a spirit we go on after this. I have no idea what it's going to be. I have no idea if it's going to be as fun as this. I hope it is, but I don't know. Right? We have this one gift in this moment, in this day. What are you going to do today to fully engage with the life that you've been given? What are you going to create that's going to create more light or more love for yourself and the people that you love? How are we going to be a presence in this life to give our gifts? And so the last strategy for dealing with fear is to be in the moment. Because you know what? In this moment, there's nothing to be afraid of. In this moment, you're fine. And for most of the moments, that's the truth. Now, I will admit, there are moments when we have scary stuff. We're about to walk into a courtroom, or we have to have that confrontation, or we go into our boss to ask for a raise, or we confront a situation. There are moments where there is fear, or that are a little scarier than others. But what we do is we be present in those and breathe into that. When we are present in the moment, whether we're in a moment of safety or we're in a moment where there's a little heightened sense of nervousness, you breathe into that moment to remember yourself. It's called inspiration for a reason. We're in spirit. You remember that when you stop and you take a deep breath and you allow yourself to be present, you're filling yourself with the spirit of the one. And there is nothing but victory there. There is nothing but perfection there. There is nothing but strength there when you stand with God. And so my invitation for us is to be present in the moments that we walk through this week. To realize that fear is a natural part of our experience, and it's there to remind us that we're alive and that there's some exciting things coming forward, but not to let it hinder us. We don't want it to let it hold us back. And so the last thing I wanted to share with you today is that when our minds go crazy, that we have this prayer that we actually teach our youth. It's the Unity's prayer for protection. I love this one. If you need something to have your mind focus on, right, when you're experiencing that in your belly, the light of God surrounds me, the love of God enfolds me, the power of God protects me, the presence of God watches over me, wherever I am, God is. This was written in 1940 for the soldiers in World War II. So I'm going to put this up on our Facebook today. I'll put it up on the Facebook group. But this is a wonderful mantra. It's a really great affirmation for us to focus on. It gives your mind something to do and something to focus on, to remember that truth. Because where you are, God is, and everything is okay. Where you are, the power of God is pulsing, and as you choose to remember that, as you choose to embrace that, to engage with it, it feeds you, it supports you. And so what if you told yourself, you know what, I know I'm afraid and this is scary, but I'm going to do it anyways. I may have to face that fear, but every time I do it, I'll be better and stronger. Because the truth is this, you can't go through life letting fear stop you, or you'll never start anything. You've got a life for a reason. You're meant to start something amazing with it. You are meant to create something amazing with your life. but you've got to accept the fear first and learn how to move through it. So my best wish for each of us in this week is that we realize our divine connection, that we step forward fully and freely and create a divine, magnificent experience, because that's why we're here. You're worthy, you're loved, you are important, and I'm so grateful you're here. And so is